So yeah, video games are the best, and I haven't talked about them in a while, or enough in general on this channel. So this may be like a trash, quick, unplanned video that is just kind of a filler, because we're still doing a bunch of stuff with family things, and I can't dedicate the time I need to for the My Dinner with Andre video, but I want to talk about some video games I've been playing recently. I haven't finished any of the new games I got, but I got a lot recently, and I just wanted to kind of ramble about my thoughts on them. So, yeah, if this doesn't sound like a video for you, that's fine. Go watch the new Luca video. But yeah, if you like video games and care about my opinions at all, just strap in. We're in for a wild ride.
No, you're not a gamer. No. You are not a gamer. I am so sick of all these people who think they're gamers. No, you're not. All right, and most of you are not even close to being gamers. I see these people saying, I put well over 100 hours in this game and it's great. That's nothing! That's nothing! Most of us can easily put 300 plus in all of our games. I see people who only have the Nintendo Switch and claim to be gamers. Funny! Come, talk to me when you pick up a PS4 controller. Then we'll be friends. Also, dear women, Pokemon is not a real game. Animal Crossing is not a real game. The Sims is not a real game. Mario is not a real game. Stardew Valley? It's not a real game! Mobile games are not real games! Put down the baby games and play something that requires challenge and skill for once. Sincerely, all of the actual gamers.
Posted in the Apex Legends 420.
So yeah, I went out and bought a Nintendo Switch and a bunch of Mario games. Realistically, I was looking for a PlayStation 5, and I figured out around a couple months ago that there was no way I was going to find one, like this year anyway, and I decided to just buy a Nintendo Switch. My family had wanted one for a while, and there were a lot of games that were Switch exclusives that I did want to try. So around that time that I went on the trip, the big trip that's in that one update video where we traveled around the country, I bought a Switch, the nice Animal Crossing one to take with us, and went off and bought a bunch of new games, hence why I have so many new games I haven't finished yet. Plus the fact that I just really, really like buying new games. So yeah, I have some outside of that because I need help.
Battles alien ships to abduct inhabitants of friendly planet. Yellow creature gobbles dots while being pursued through maze by monsters. Believe it or not, those things are really happening.
So yeah, like the first thing I did when I got my Switch was buy Breath of the Wild, which I'll talk about after this, and a game I could play with my family. Me and my siblings always loved playing New Super Mario Bros. On the Wii, and we'd beaten it like 20 times to the point where we could beat it in like a day with no problems. So it seemed like a really good option to go with the new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which comes with, according to the back, over 160 courses including all of New Super Mario Bros. U and all of New Super Luigi Bros. U, including also new characters and items from Toadette and Nabbit, and a Super Crown which turns Toadette into Peachette. Whack stuff, but it was like 2 full games, so I was like, you know what, I'll buy it. So we beat it pretty fast playing the Mario side of the games, which was pretty fun. It had typical Mario mechanics, which was pretty much what we were there for. It had a lot of fun and unique levels, and fun new stuff like the little baby Yoshis that I hadn't played with. And yeah, I was pretty happy with it at first. I thought it wasn't quite as good as the old New Super Mario Bros., which is kind of funny to say. It didn't seem to have the same replayability, but I figured it wouldn't be a problem since there was another half of the game, and some pretty fun challenge missions. So I hopped over to the Luigi side by myself, and maybe I was just crazy to expect something else, because, I hadn't played any of the two Mario games, the Mario and Luigi game that came out for Wii U. But it was exactly the same, but you play it as Luigi, and the time was shorter, making each level harder, which was weird. I was very much under the impression that it would be a new game, and was really excited for that because we had been traveling and we beat the first Mario side in less than a week of not hardcore playing because we were traveling. And it was just kind of disappointing to me because if I want to quick run a game, I want to try getting higher times and playing it for fun, not be rushed through a bunch of levels I've already played. And another thing that really got me to not like this game as much was Toadette and Nabbit. I was really excited to see new characters to play as, but I was a little surprised to find that one is marked as easy and the other one is super easy or something like that, and they were essentially just made for kids who aren't good at games yet. A fun idea when you're in that specific situation and you want to play with your kid but they're not good and you don't want anybody to get upset. But why not just add character difficulty? So Nabbit is a character I've always liked, and he can do absolutely nothing. He can move through the levels, fight bad guys, but you literally can't die or get powers or do anything that makes Mario actually fun to play. And then Toadette, which can die, kind of, but she also can't get any powers except for the crown to get Peachette, and then if she takes a hit, she just loses Peachette. And Peachette can glide, which is fun and reminds me of Mario 2, but it's just not something I could play and have fun with because, again, you're not playing Mario. You're playing some weird baby Mario. And yet Baby Mario is better than it, I don't know. And I have just not beat all of the challenge missions on this one in the Luigi side because I didn't find it fun. But currently, having played the game as much as I have, I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5. Fun Mario typical stuff, but a lot of stuff that was just really disappointing and kind of pulled me out of enjoying the game.
Death Race really is fantasy, and nothing more than that. And we don't try to depict anything that really happens in real life.
Breath of the Wild. So I'm going to do a full-length video on this when I finish it, which I hope will be relatively soon. But this was essentially the game I was most excited about on the Switch that I just didn't want to get for the Wii U because that sounded like a bad idea. I had heard nothing but good things about it, including it winning Game of the Year and a couple other big awards. I have always been in love with the Legend of Zelda franchise in theory, but rarely have their games actually been able to hold my attention throughout the whole game other than Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, the only two Zelda games I've actually finished all the way through. They usually just kind of lose me after you get through the beginning stuff and get into the grind of gameplay with lots of puzzles and exploration that just isn't that interesting to me. But then I played Breath of the Wild. To keep it as short and abridged as I can, probably the greatest, most atmospheric open-world game I've ever played with a huge scale, amazing explorability, beautiful animation, and a Ghibli-level history and love to everything in it. Fantastic art direction that gives it a very somber, lost hope vibe that slowly gets better and worse at the same time as you regain your memory in perfect progression. Fantastic story and gameplay pacing that so naturally teaches you everything about the story and the world that you need to know and never feels like it's locking you out of any area. You literally can't make it to stuff until you can essentially do this stuff. And it just makes it such a fun world to explore that flows so well, it freaking breaks my mind. And this is now extremely gunning for my favorite game, again, which is why I want to do a full video on it when I finish it, if it sticks the landing, which I seriously doubt it won't. So far, 5 out of 5 for Breath of the Wild. Flipping fantastic.
Diving at you, they're bombing you, and here you are, one guy fighting off the whole universe of aliens, and you do get a certain amount of thrill and excitement and a feeling of, boy, when you conquer this game, you really come away satisfied.
So I had played this before, on my cousin's Switch, and I really enjoyed it. I think it was the first Switch game I had ever played, and the first Mario Party game I had ever actually liked. It's got a really enjoyable main Mario Party game and partner party version, which switches things up and just keeps it very interesting and well paced between the two. One of the big actual drawbacks of the game is if you don't have 4 players, it kind of sucks for anything, because the co-op computers suck, and the normal Mario Party computers are gods. They do not roll bad. And the pacing of the normal Mario Party I'm not the biggest fan of, because playing lower than 15 turns, which, I mean, there's only 10 turns slower than that, really destroys the actual evenness of the play. And if you don't have 2 hours, it's just extremely unbalanced. Somebody's probably going to be destroying everybody else. You just don't have enough time, which sucks because it's not really as much fun if you don't have a ton of time to sit around and play. The minigames are all really fun, and the other modes this game offers to play is really where it takes off for me. You have normal mode and co-op mode if you have a lot of time, and then you have River Raft, a fun co-op mode where you navigate different paths of a river, collecting balloons, winning co-op minigames to get more time and make it to the end. Hard is really hard and normal is really easy, but it's a really fun party game. And then there's the dance minigame. It's fun rhythm-based stuff that's pretty easy until you get into Hard and Remix, which is faster and longer and just really crazy and calls back to my childhood playing Raymond Rabbit's TV and falling in love with the song Toxic. They also have a lot of minigame modes where you can just play to play them, play to take control of spaces, or just try to see who can get the most wins out of so many games. And there are even more games you can play on the Switch pad, on the table, and stuff you can connect with other Switches. So there's a lot of stuff here, and most of it's pretty darn fun as long as you have people and you have time. But we're still playing it and unlocking characters, but I am very much enjoying it so far. I would give it a 4 out of 5.
If you drive LA traffic, and I'm a deliverer myself, you get tired of pedestrians, and these little things, kind of remind me of pedestrians.
Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster, regrettably for the Switch. So this is the first Assassin's Creed game I've played, and it was super cheap when I got it, and that's why I got it. And I was excited to see if the series lived up to the hype or the problems I've heard from this series. And it's been fine so far. It's definitely an old game, and the remaster still looks pretty rough, especially when the Switch can't handle literally any graphics not made specifically for it, but the gameplay is pretty fun, with only slightly clunky, mostly smooth combat movements, stealth, and puzzles, really shining in how freaking awesome it feels zipping around stabbing people. The reason we're all here for this series. The problem I really have with the game is the story, not the actual story. I hadn't played the first 2 and didn't expect Nathan Drake to be here, but it gets you into things fast and has a fun concept based in, while not my favorite era, a pretty fun era to be killing people in. It even has a really fun cold open switch out that has you play as the bad guy without knowing it for like the first probably over an hour of the game, as it teaches you everything and relatively cleverly portrays exposition and a real feel to the people you're fighting against. But it's the breaks and the pacing of the gameplay to story that just really sucks. It's really cathartic, especially being that I got the game around the 4th of July to kill a bunch of the founding father old people who are killing natives, and the combat of said Native Americans is just honestly really fun to play, and you really get a feel for him. But it feels like you're just waiting around for things all the time, even in the kind of prologue when you're playing as Hatham. The story and elements are just so far apart, or so fast, or so weirdly paced, and you're just kind of put into a weird open world that feels almost completely separate from the main gameplay. Instead of feeling like I'm playing a game that gets to naturally flow into a nice scene, it feels like I'm stopping to watch a quick video to try and piece together weird puzzles and kill a bunch of nameless enemies. It's just so underwhelming despite its mechanics of fighting theoretically being pretty good. So yeah, I give it a 3.5 out of 5 so far. Not super far into it, but it's just a little rough around the edges.
If you are a fan, we don't have to tell you that video games are taking this country by storm, keeping thousands of kids as well as adults glued to their flashing screens. But there are some people who are worried that the games could be having a negative effect on the players.
So this game just looked freaking epic. Like look at this art style and the gameplay. It just looks so good and has like this really fun, self-aware but a nice humanizing sense of humor throughout the game, and it's beautiful. I was a little worried because I've never ever really liked top-down like hack and slashes. They've just never been my thing, and I've never gotten through a complete game of them. But this game was honestly so well done so far. The gameplay and pacing kind of give me Hollow Knight vibes, just without the open world kind of feel, while also kind of connecting everything into a really nice gameplay loop that changes every time and really makes it a fun and interesting game when it could just be go die, go die, go die, go die. I still haven't played it a ton. I've probably only logged like 5 hours on it just because it's still not 100% my thing, but honestly, it's genuinely probably the best looking, sounding, and feeling hack and slash game I've ever played, and the story and characters and the environments and just everything has me 100% captured. And I mean, who doesn't like Greek mythology? It's honestly so nice and so smooth gameplay wise, it kind of blows my mind. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 so far.
In 1980, video games are the rage, swallowing quarters by the millions, launching a new entertainment industry, and setting the pace for the world's infatuation with high-tech electronic gadgets.
So I had my eye on this game really ever since it came out. I wanted to get it on my PS4 since that's kind of more-ish what it's made for. But it was on sale for the Switch, so I made a foolish decision. So this game is pretty darn good. It's like if you combined Skyrim and Borderlands, or pretty much just a lesser BioShock. It's got fine combat, mostly just shooting, which aiming on the Switch with this system is honestly a nightmare. And the graphics die on Switch, like they die. It looks like a PS2 game. It kind of looks worse than a PS2 game. It really kills me that the graphics absolutely crumble on a Switch, and a lot of the puzzles feel kind of underwhelming. Where this game does shine though is kind of what it's well known for. It's sci-fi world. It's honestly really fun and creative, being controlled by a bunch of big corporations that everybody works for, and like just having normal conversations, having people have to like drop the company tagline, having really fun art style with a bunch of propaganda all over. It just does a really good job of getting you into the world, despite it not feeling as fleshed out as like a lot of things in Skyrim. And B, more importantly, the characters and the dialogue and the interactions. It literally has one of my favorite all-time video game characters, and they do such a freaking good job of immediately getting you onto her side and into her character. The voice acting is amazing, and the amount of love and care went in. You can literally just like hard main talking to people and building your crew and just having fun and not fighting as much as possible. Lessons from a Screenplay, which is a great channel by the way, did a great video in their video game series about how their system works and how well it was put together. It's literally one of the best games I've ever played for that specific one thing. Just characters and conversations and dialogue options and stuff. It's just so much fun. Unfortunately, the pacing of everything else and just how the game flows doesn't really hit, but it's got this very strong, and like I said, the Switch graphics and fighting are a nightmare, so it kind of takes me out of the game some as well. Overall, I've given it a 3.5 out of 5 so far. It's been a lot of fun character interactions, but a lot of kind of mediocre missions and fighting.
From CBS News, this is 30 Minutes with Betty Ann Bowser and Christopher Glenn.
All over the country, armies of young people are blasting away at invaders from outer space and paying for the privilege.
So, I have a confession to make. I'm a really big impulse spender, but I also really hate spending money. Like, I really hate spending money, which is a funny combination, but what it ultimately leads to is I'll buy, like, anything that's on sale. Like, anything. If I see it on sale, I'm just like, boom, must have, because it's on sale. Even if it's something that, like, I don't really want that much or wasn't that interested in. So I like My Hero Academia, but it's not really my favorite thing, and I never really felt like ever looking into the games because the graphics were just kind of meh. But with My Hero 1's Justice 2 coming out, the Switch store had the first one for like 80% off, I think. So, yeah, I impulse bought it. This is kind of why I'm running out of money. But I was actually super surprised to find that this game is like a lot of fun. The combat is so well done when it's local that me and my brother, avid Smash Bros. Players, ended up kind of enjoying this a little bit more than Smash, despite it being only 2 players. It's got a really fun 3D, 360 move around map type that I was kind of surprised, and it's just like a genuinely fun space to move around and fight in. And the character list, while very small, all have pretty unique abilities that are pretty much all fun. A few being unbalanced, which usually can be avoided by just playing good counters to each other, even if it limits gameplay options a little bit. Where this game kind of sucks is its story mode. It just is a really bad rehash of the show. It's so poorly paced, the computers kind of suck to fight against, and it doesn't look very good, and it's just kind of killed by the fact that, like, all of the game's story must revolve around brawl combat when a lot of the story just can't do that. By doing this, you can unlock fine customizations. They're fun, some of them are cute, but like the costume crossover stuff usually just ends up looking really bad. So unless you want to like change the color of like a costume that somebody already has, it just looks not great. The only other thing is it gets you All for One, which I haven't unlocked yet because the story is so painful. But yeah, local battle and online stuff is honestly a lot of fun, even if it's not as big or as replayable as Smash. I would give it a 3.5 out of 5 so far.
Well, besides the feeling of competence, I think there's also an added benefit of exposure to the video screen and getting prepared for the advent of the computer age.
Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc for mobile. So before you criticize me for getting this on mobile, I only got it on mobile because I wanted something to stream after I learned my grandma had just passed away and I didn't have anything on my phone and I was out of town. So yeah, I bought it, and I have to say I was actually pretty impressed with it as a mobile version of the game. It never really feels toned down or sloppy just because it's on the phone, and the nature of the game itself allows it to go onto the mobile phone system actually really smoothly. As for the game itself, I'm only a couple hours in because I've only played it on stream, but it's done an amazing job balancing its more anime-feeling segments with its mystery and time management gameplay, constantly getting you to question the space you're in, the people around you, and the enemy, and the main mystery. The characters are a lot of fun to interact with, and while there aren't too many quote-unquote dialogue options in terms of changing things, it has nice mechanics for choosing who you get to know better, who you think you can trust, who you're suspicious about, and letting you get the abilities from them, increasing the story. I'm not very far into it, but man, it's done really nothing but want me to play more, and I really am a big fan of the art style. My biggest complaint so far is that it's taken a while to get going, but again, I've only played it for about 3 hours, so I'm still learning specifics. I would give it a 4 out of 5 so far.
Chicago Alderman Patrick Hewells believes that where there are video games, there could be trouble.
So again, I wasn't planning on buying it, though I've been interested in this game for years. I've never played any of the Persona games, but I've just heard nothing but good things about it. But I walked into a dollar store while I was visiting Florida, looking for used movies and stuff, which you can surprisingly find really good and cheap. And when I looked, they had PS4 games, so I looked up and saw Persona 5 for $13 and immediately purchased it. and it's kind of extremely lived up to all of the hype. I've played it like nonstop since I've gotten it, and gosh dang it, it's really good. It takes a bit to get going, and you're still learning stuff way far into the gameplay, but only because there are so many things you can learn and can do. While the graphics aren't the greatest things in the world, it is a 2016 indie game. The story is surprisingly dark, so well paced. The gameplay feels fun and open while sticking to the story so naturally. The anime cutscenes are fun and much better than Danganronpa and, Kingdom Hearts cutscenes, and somehow it flows really well overall as a game. And while the game is really dark in its themes and tones, it still manages to feel so real to high schoolers and stay pretty goofy with its premise and world. Again, it's extremely an anime. This is like the best at what it is, and I'm not really sure entirely what it is because there's so much packed into this game, but I am very fast falling in love with it, and I really honestly can't wait to play more and more. So far, I would give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Well, the obvious question is, of course, how long will this smashing success last for video games? Well, there are plenty of new competitors in the field, each one taking more or less of the players' 300 billion quarters a year in this country. Home video game owners will soon be able to buy their own versions of Asteroids, Galaxians, and Pac-Man. So for the video warrior, it appears the sky is the limit, and we should note finally the U.S. military is about...
So this is just kind of a stupid spur-of-the-moment video used as an excuse to talk about video games. Honestly, my favorite form of storytelling, the thing I want to make, and the thing I very rarely talk about on this channel. So the moral of this video is kind of just to check out different video games, even if you're not a fan of a lot of games you've played before. There's honestly, I think, something out there for everyone, from casual phone gamers to computer and console, to family, to RPGs, to top-downs. So many stories with so many unique visions and unique ways of experiencing them. And I really do believe that there's a game out there for literally everyone. So just because it's not your thing, or people will stupidly make fun of you for gender, or for money, or for using mobile, find what makes you happy in the amazing world of video games, and just do it. Play it. There's a lot of really terrible stuff that's come out, even by a game studio that's made one of my favorite games with Blizzard and Overwatch. And just because that's all that's come out because something terrible happened, that is very far, very, very far from being all that there is. It makes me so sad that the industry is honestly one of the worst out there, and I really would love for it to get better over the years, and the only way I currently know how to do that is to try and educate people and support indie games and try to get more people into games and get awful standards and awful people out, because it's one of my favorite things in the world, and I want people to be able to experience that. I want people to be able to play what they love without having to deal with terrible, sexist, abusive, corporate, and not behavior. So play games, support people in the industry and the community. Don't be afraid to just not put up with awful behavior. Kick people out, stop playing certain games, and have fun with something that should be fun for everybody. I mean, they're video games after all.
But today's video game manufacturers don't seem worried. While individual towns may restrict the use of the games, overall, business continues to boom. There are 500,000 video games in the United States today, and industry sources say there will be a lot more. The real future of video games, however, isn't in the hands of either the manufacturers who are pushing the games or the parents who want to stop them.
The player, the person who is willing to spend the quarter, he's the dominant force.
Do you think that video games are going to be here to stay, or are they just a fad that's going to go away?
They'll be here to stay.
I think it might die down a little bit.
I think they're going to be around for a long time. Because they say we're living in a space age, and these games are space age.
Do you think that they're here to stay, or is it just another hula hoop sort of?
Probably another hula hoop.
No, I think they're going to be around for good. Too many people are hooked on them now. I don't think they're going to end that quick.